So basically this is called a literal equation, and it's when you have two or more variables in one problem. So what happens is you solve for one variable in terms of the other. So for example, we're going to solve the formula for the area of a triangle. A equals 1/2 BH for height H.
Okay.
Then you're going to find the height of the triangle if the area is 48 inches squared and the base is 4. So they're giving you 2 out of 3 of the components that you need. So what you're going to do, what they didn't give you was height. So you're solving for height. So you're going to put the formula, area equals 1/2 base times height. Now you're going to always multiply by 2 because we need to find the reciprocal to get this number over here to where the number is, right? So this is the problem without any numbers attached to it. So now what you have on this side is 2a, and then you multiply this out, so it's just now base and height. Does that make sense to you? We're not solving yet for up here. Okay. Then the second thing is we need to bring this over here because we're solving for height. So we need just h over here. So they're multiplying, so you divide. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And then what you do to one side, you do to the other. So this becomes 2a over b. This cancels each other out, and it just becomes h. So this is what we have left.
Okay.
Now, step 2 is now we're going to actually fill in everything that we know. So 2a over base equals h. We know area equals 48 and base equals 4. So now we substitute a 48 here because that's what they tell us area is. We don't know the height yet, but we do know the base is 4. Now it's 96 over 4 equals height, and now we know what the height is.
Okay.
Okay, so now sometimes an equation will only have variables. There's no numbers. So we have to do the same exact thing as we would do for the numbers, but the goal, instead of numbers on one side and letters on the other, the goal is to get the variable that you're solving for alone. So everything that I taught you goes away with this type of problem. We're not getting letters on one and numbers on the other. And you'll know that you have to do that when there's no numbers and they're asking you to solve for one piece of it. Like up here, they asked us to solve for height. But all you had was a whole bunch of stuff going on. We can't have a B and an H here. That's why we divide it out by B, even though it's a letter. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. So if there's a problem where it's just all letters and no numbers, and it's like it's saying solve for H,
Yeah.
then the answer could be like AB over D.
Exactly.
H.
Exactly. So for this next one, we don't have numbers. So it says transforming equations with only one variable. Transforming equations means instead of having numbers on one side and letters on the other, you're going to have the letter that you're solving for on one side and then your other letters on the other. So let's just take it piece by piece. So you're going to write with me. We have solve AB minus D equals C. And then right after it, it says for B in terms of A, D, and C. So what they're saying is you are getting the B by itself, and that's how you know. They're not going to say solve for B. They're going to say, here's the problem. For B, they're basically saying what happens to B in terms of A, D, and C. So A, D, and C are going to be on one side of the equation, and B is going to be on the other side of the equation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start with our problem. And right now we have C over here. So our goal is to get A over here and D over here. because we already have B here, so I'm not going to switch it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so to get D over here, they're subtracting D, so what do I have to do?
You have to add.
Good. So it's like this is a number, right? But it's not, it's a letter in this case. So now on this side we have C plus D, and on this side we have AB equals C plus D. Does that make sense to you so far?
Yeah.
Awesome. Now we have A and B together. They're multiplying, so what do we have to do? If we need B, our goal is to get B over here by itself.
You divide.
Exactly. So you divide by A, and anything you do to one side, you do to the other. And then this cancels each other out, so now we're left with B equals C plus D over A.
Okay.
Now, in some cases, they might tell you what these things are, but if they don't, you're done with the problem. If they do, like they did for the 1/2 base times height, then you would go ahead and plug in. But sometimes this is as low, this is as, not as low. It's as simplified as you're going to make it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
So now on the next page, you're going to see, I texted it to you. So it's example 3. You're going to do a real world problem, which means you're going to do something with these type of problems. So for that one, we're going to do temperature. So the formula C equals 5/9 Fahrenheit minus 32 gives you the Celsius temperature, which is C. In terms of the Fahrenheit temperature, which is this right here, you're going to transform the formula to find Fahrenheit temperature. So now they just told us what we're solving for. We are solving, and you can write this in the margins, you're solving for F, which means everything except for F has to be on this side of the equation. And the only thing that's going to be on this side is F. Does that make sense to you? So the rest of everything else is going to be over here. So now we just take the problem. So we're going to do C equals 5/9 F minus 32. And the first thing we're going to do is get rid of this. So they're doing 5/9. To get rid of it, we do the reciprocal, which is multiplying it by 9/5. This cancels each other out. And anything we do to one side, we do to the other. So now I have 9/5 C equals F minus 32. And now you add 32 to both sides. This cancels each other out. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
And then we are left with 9/5 C plus 32 equals F. So in this one, we're finding the Fahrenheit temperature when the Celsius temperature is 30. So where it says Celsius, we're going to plug in 30. Like that. And then we're going to take our calculator and we're going to do 9 times 30 divided by 5 is 54 plus 32 which equals 86, and we know that's always in degrees. So basically what they're saying is 30 degrees Celsius equals 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So for homework, you are going to do that same problem, but when Celsius temperature equals 60 degrees, and when Celsius temperature equals 30 degrees.
Okay.
And then on your sheet, there's going to be exercises on page 91, and you're going to do problem just number 1. And it has a couple things right here. So it's telling you what all of this is, and then you're going to solve for this. So basically you're going to solve for height when they give you the volume of this, the length of this, and the width of this. Here is your formula. And then same thing for this. So it's basically 4 problems. When the volume is 64 inches cubed, when the length is 4 inches, and when the width is 4 inches. When the volume is 72 inches cubed, when the length is 3. So you're always solving for h, and that's how you know. You're going to isolate it so that it's h equals, and then everything else on this side.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
I think my iPad might die, and I don't want the call to die on you.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Upstairs. Well, I don't know how it works. I think I'm good now.
Okay. So I was recording, so you can just go to 12 minutes, 30 seconds to be where we are now. It'll be like a 30-second break. Okay. We're going to do ratios and proportions, and we actually did this before when we were preparing for the HSPT. So hopefully this is review for you.
Okay.
So a ratio is a comparison of 2 numbers by division. The ratio of A to B is A, and then you do the colon sign B. Or you can do A over B, or you can even do A to, like, so there's 3 ways to write it. A to B, A colon B, or as a fraction. Okay, so a unit rate is a rate with a denominator of 1. An example is 40 miles for 1 hour. You can write this rate as 40 per hour or 40 miles per hour. You with me so far?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we have some products. It's the price of apple juice. And the price is 72 cents for 16 ounces. So the cost goes as your numerator, and the ounces goes as your denominator. So you're going to do 0.72 over 16. And when you put that into a calculator, you're going to do 0.72 divided by 16, and it's going to give you 0.045 per ounce. And then they're going to give you another one. This one is $1.20 for 32 ounces. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do 1.20 over 32. And that's going to give you 0.0375 per ounce. And this is all in money.
Alright.
You with me so far?
Uh-huh.
And then $1.60 for 64 ounces. You're going to do the same exact thing. Numerator over denominator and then divide it out. Okay, so what they're basically saying is we can't know which one is cheaper by the ounce unless we divide it out, because this one is 16 ounces, this one is 32. So just by looking at it, you won't be able to necessarily tell. Does that make sense to you?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so these are the unit rates, and this is how we find out for the 72 cents for 16 ounces. It's not 45 cents an ounce, it's 0.045. So we have to basically say it's 4 cents or 5 cents. So we go to here and we round it. So it's 5 cents per ounce. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And then the $1.20 for 32 ounces, again, it's basically 4 cents per ounce. And then the $1.60 over 64 ounces equals 3 cents per ounce. So now we could see this is the Best Buy per ounce.
Okay.
Okay. So when we're doing proportions and ratios, we do the whole entire A to B equals C to D. So this is a proportion. It means you have 1 ratio, 2 ratios. Does that make sense to you?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we are going to say that we have something T over 9 equals 5, 6. Now to solve for this proportion, we have to do this and do this. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, so when they say solve for the proportion, they aren't going to tell you to do this. You have to know to do this.
Right.
So this becomes 45 equals T over 6 or 6T.
Okay.
Now to get this 6 away from the T, we have to do what?
Divide.
Yep. So go ahead and solve that.
6 equals 7.5.
Yeah. You got it. Okay. And this is called cross products, which makes sense, right? You are crossing them and they are multiplied together. So for homework, you're going to do this one and this one. Okay.
Okay.
Now we have something that is a multi-step proportion, and it will look something like this. Am I echoing or no?
You're going like on and off. Like you're loud for 1 second and then you're quiet.
Okay. I will try to speak easier, but I think it's just probably your connection. But I can hear myself.
I think that's what it is.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We have x plus 4 over 5 equals x minus 2 over 7. So for this one, it's a little tricky because you have a lot going on, but we still solve it the same exact way. We're basically going to do this, and then we're going to do this. It just looks crazy. So I'm just going to rewrite it out. 5 times x minus 2 equals 7 and x plus 4. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And now we're going to distribute 5x minus 10 equals 7x plus 28.
All right.
And then we decide where are we going to move our letters and numbers. And I always want mine over here. But for this one, I could see it's going to be negative. So I'm just going to move it over here. You can do either way, though. It doesn't matter.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
And then we're going to get this over here. So we have to do 2x divided by 2, negative 38 divided by 2.
Divided.
Do you get that?
Wait. Did you? Were you talking? I couldn't hear anything for like a minute or so.
Oh, I was waiting for you to write it down. You already got it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I couldn't hear anything.
That's okay. Okay, so does this make sense to you right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Awesome. So for homework, you're going to do this one, and you're going to do this one, and this one.
Okay.
And then finding unit rates, which we did before, you're going to do $57 for 6 hours and 600 calories for 1.5 hours.
Okay.
So that you just divide out. And then for proportions, you're just going to do 2 over 8 equals n over 20. And 4 over 6 equals m over 9.
Uh-huh.
Now, sometimes it's going to be one-sided. So for example, this one right here, you don't have to solve on both sides. So you see how that's different than the other one that we did? You don't have to distribute both sides. So no matter what they give, you still solve it the same way, like this. And then you just say, okay, well, my number's are already here, and I see this is where my x is. So obviously, I'm going to just distribute out, and I'm going to move my numbers over here. What's left on this side is 8x. Now I'm going to divide out my 8. So whatever they give you, that's how you're going to do it. Whether they give you something that has like x plus 3 over 4 on both sides, or whether they give you a fraction on this side, whatever they give you, you're just still going to solve it like this.
And you're only going to do that when it's like, when it does,